Okay, this is John Bushka. I just want to talk about another development. New, um, there is a new teaser that someone has made about my first Do Ask Do Tell book. That's based on an interview that I did recently, um, which was on Books on Air. It's someone by the name of Sam Humans, and what he did was print some of the interview he gave with me, and then he makes his own comments on the interview himself, which are quite interesting and which tend to sell the book. And I don't know if it's okay just to play the interview and put it in my own YouTube and call it mine from the YouTube's copyright rules and so forth. So what I'll do is just summarize it and give you the link so you can go play his own podcast very easily. But for example, he starts out by summarizing my expulsion from William and Mary, and how how just simply admitting that I had homosexual thoughts to the dean and was unacceptable. It was unacceptable to be in a dorm then with other young men exposed to the idea, and about how things were, in the 1950s and early 60s, and about the security risks and so forth, and also how this was would have been stressful for my parents. The whole, he mentions the whole McCarthyism thing. He also mentions my 6 months at NIH in the second part of 1962, which my parents had to attend family therapy. That was quite unpleasant for them, and I talk about that a lot in the book. And the whole point of that was was partly to get me to be more willing to have social and maybe meaningful, intimate relationships with people who were within my reach, even though they weren't as appealing as maybe people that I felt attracted to, and particularly to get me interested in heterosexual dating. That's what they thought, with people some of them were not very intact, so it's a very odd kind of experiment. He also goes into chapter 3 in my book, which I did not do in the pitchfest in California, the iUniverse pitchfest. I do chapters 1, 2, and 4. In chapter 3, I do talk about, which I call my second coming. I talk about the fact that I moved to Dallas, lived in New York a while, and then moved to Dallas in 1979. And then when the AIDS epidemic started moving, about a year after it was in New York and San Francisco to Dallas, in 1983, they threatened to reinforce the sodomy law, which then was 2106, with the very draconian law of 2138, which would ban gay men from practically all occupations that had any contact with the public at all, which does fit, and does sound like an idea of an extension of the military ban. So I think in a future screenplay or treatment of even focusing on the 1, 2, and 4 chapters, I need to mention that, and he talks about that. So it's very interesting. He also emphasizes my idea that your personal rights can be taken away when external circumstances are so dire that you have to make sacrifices like other people for a common good. Now, of course, this is something that authoritarian leaders abuse. And it's also something they can use for nationalistic purposes if they see the world as a zero-sum game, like Vladimir Putin. So I'll give you the links for this, and I think you'll find this very interesting. That's probably it for today.